Yes, I'm going to throw out some ideas, and I hope that you are going to go home with them, and that it might make a difference in your attitude towards life, also towards sex, but particularly something about philosophy of life. You can't control life, what life is going to throw your way. In my life, as if you just heard, I was born in Frankfurt, Germany, and at the age of 10 and a half, when the Nazis came to power, I was sent to Switzerland to a children's home, hoping that my parents could get out of Germany and pick me up. The children's home became an orphanage. All of the 50 children who were there with me became orphans during the war years. And I have learned some lessons from that particular time to take control of my life to some extent, because I didn't have control when I was sent to Switzerland. If I had not been in Switzerland, I would not be alive. I would be among the 1.5 million Jewish children who did not make it out of Nazi Germany. So I knew that I had to have some gratitude and a positive attitude towards life. I did not know that with my accent from Germany, then Switzerland, then Palestine, Israel, that I'll tell you in a little moment, I did not know that I would become a sex therapist. But I'm not complaining about it. I like it. I like that people still at the age of 87 are listening to me and asking me their questions. Part of what I want to talk to you about is part of that joie de vivre. Can you all say joie de vivre? Beautiful, which means like zest for life. Because you could ask yourself, how does somebody who was an orphan, an only child of loving parents, how can an orphan become somebody who can take life with both hands and make the best of it? And part of this has to do that I was first a kindergarten teacher, but in the Swiss orphanage, I was already responsible for the children who were younger than me. And all of you who have or will have children know that children can be very, very exuberantly happy. They can also do lots of mischief, but in general, when they have what they need, and when they have loving parents, that early socialization, that early years of their lives, very important. So I can go back into that feeling that I had before World War II, when I was at home, only child, and very happy. I had 13 dolls, I had roller skates, I had everything that a little girl might have wanted. So I could transfer that when I worked in the orphanage with the children by trying to make their lives the best, the happiest possible. Some people always ask, how can I do that? I can kind of compartmentalize. That's what all of you are going to learn. I can say there are things that I'm so grateful about. I'm grateful about doing my very first TED Talk here. I'm grateful about seeing such a large audience. But I also take time when I say there were sad things happening to me, and I have to give them some respect to those sad emotions. Some people are afraid to exhibit joy because they think that if they exhibit joy, that will mean that something bad is going to happen. I'm saying, don't do that. Make sure that you take every single aspect of life, significant others, falling in love, having sex, anything that comes your way with both hands and make the best of it. My advice is also to stay away from negative people. If you have somebody who is always complaining, who is never doing anything positive, except if it's your mother-in-law. If it's the mother-in-law, you have no choice. Stay away, because those people who thrive on it, who always talk about constantly sad things, are not helping you to make the best out of your life. Also, what I have learned is not to become blasé. For example, I do love the Christmas windows in New York. I go every year. I am very Jewish, but I do enjoy all of those lights. Some of them are for Hanukkah, which is nice for Jewish people, but to make sure that to take some time to walk around some places that you like in nature and to really enjoy it. Some people do keep on harping on the bad things that happen to them. And I'm saying everybody has some problems. Make sure that you take these problems, put them in a little box, open that box from time to time, but in the meantime also make sure that you enjoy everything that comes, that you can take advantage of. For example, I told you that I had to leave Germany when I was 10 because of the Nazis. I was asked a few years ago to be the marshal, the Grand Marshal of the German-American parade down Fifth Avenue. And for a moment I was hesitant, and then I said to myself, hold it. People who are alive today, most of them, have either been born or were small children like myself during those terrible years. And I said, I'm going to do it. And I tell you, I had a great time. I saw my face. I'm only 4'7", but the face was in big banners all on Fifth Avenue, and I had a great time. And here I was the center of attention of some 100,000 people. So I was later happy that I made that decision to do that marshal. Now, one of the things, an important quality is to develop faith in yourself. I was a sniper. Don't worry, I'm not using any guns anymore. I never killed anybody, but I was very badly wounded on both legs. That's not why I'm short. I would have been short anyway. But I could have kind of been really upset and for years be worried. I made the best of it. Number one, in the hospital after the operation on both legs, in the hospital I was with a whole group of men, all soldiers, and we kept the morale going. We played chess and we sang songs. I tried to make the best. Also, there was a very good-looking male nurse. Another time I'll tell you what I did with that male nurse. So I thought that I would live forever, for my whole life in Israel. As it turned out, I was fortunate. I went with husband number one to Paris. I was able to go to the Sorbonne. But there were lots of people after World War II who wanted to study, so the auditorium was always crowded, a little bit like here today. And I managed to get a good-looking guy, put me on a windowsill, so that I could hear every word. That's also how I learned my French, and that I could make the most out of those studies of psychology. Now, I'm very Jewish. I'm not Orthodox anymore. I grew up Orthodox, but I'm very Jewish. And in the Jewish tradition, it says that people, married people, a man and a woman, that they ought to have good sex. You don't have to be Jewish to enjoy sex. In the Jewish tradition, in the Talmud, it also says that that if you teach with humor, The students will remember what you taught. All of you will remember professors who could use humor. You walked out and you remembered what they were talking about. In order to feel this joie de vivre, this joy for life, you have to also know that you have to feel the other emotions. You have to know how to deal with the other emotions of disappointments. Everybody has some worries. I'm telling people, wrap all of these worries in a package, put them outside your bedroom door. Nobody is going to pick up your worries. They will still be there the next day. But in the meantime, you can enjoy the relationship. If you are lonely, my advice is don't just sit there and say, I don't have anybody. Do something. Go to a TED Talk. Find out if right now, sitting here, there is somebody who doesn't have a partner. I'm old-fashioned and a square. Don't start with a married person. The British Victorian woman, when she wanted a man to pay attention to her, she dropped a handkerchief. Sometimes the wrong man picked it up, but sometimes the handkerchief remained on the floor. I'm telling that woman, if it remains on the floor, pick it up and try the next day again. You have to take the initiative of making the best out of your life and what is giving to you. Some people, if they don't have a partner, I will later on, not on TED, teach you a little bit about masturbation, but later on. Not on TED. It's very interesting because you see, many people believe, because I talk about sex and sexuality and satisfaction and masturbation and all of the things that I talk about, they think that I am somebody where everything goes. No, I'm actually old-fashioned and a square, and I want people, 2 men or 2 women, everybody deserves respect. I want people to have the best communication, to have the best relationship, because that will translate in a good sexual relationship for all of them. I'm a little worried these days for people who are constantly on their phones, because we are going to lose the ability of a good conversation. Not you TED people, because look, that's what we are doing. We are talking to each other. But we have to be careful using the internet, but to know also the boundaries. Not every emotion has to be demonstrative. Sometimes things can be private, and you can say to yourself, okay, something happened, I'm upset about it. Admit to yourself that you're upset. I'll give you an example. I had an office in New York for many years, and from one day to the next, the landlord decided to tell all of the physicians, there were like 200 mental health professionals and medical people, that they're selling the house. Now, they're selling that building. I could either be very, very sad, or I took an opportunity. I was invited to somebody's party. I went that day. And they said, so how are you? And I said, I'm a tiny little bit upset. I have to look for an office. Guess what? I found a woman who had an extra office. And to tell you all, I got that office already 5 years now for free. So if I had only said, no, I'm sad, if I hadn't said, because I need an office right now, I wouldn't have a wonderful office in Midtown Manhattan. Some people think that in their interpersonal relationships that they have to tell each other everything. Not so. If a couple is together, I don't want her to say to him, my last lover had a much bigger penis. I wanted to keep her mouth shut. I don't want him to say, the woman that I had before you had much bigger breasts and I like bigger breasts. Keep your mouth shut. Not only that, I believe it's okay to use some white lies. Not real bad lies, but a little bit of white lies. You can tell him or her that there are the best in bed, but at the same time you have to teach them what to do in order to be sexually satisfied. But you can make them feel happy and positive about wanting to learn. Because if you make it in a positive way, then people are willing to want to learn and to want to please each other. All of you here tonight, I want you to try, those who have partners, I want you to try a different sexual position, one that you have not tried before, and then I want you to call me tomorrow and tell me, so I learned something new. Here's an example. I'm now 87, but for my 85th birthday, Gary Tintereau, the director of the Museum of Art in Houston, called and said he wanted me to give a lecture with him on a book, The Art of Arousal, that we did. And I said, what's the date? And he said, June 4th, my 85th birthday. And guess what? I said, yes. I knew that my children and grandchildren are going to give me a little bit of a hard time. I'm going to say, if I can give a lecture at the age of 85 at the Museum of Art in Houston, let's celebrate my birthday a week later. That's what I mean by being not rigid, but by being able to use life and to use it all. Now, when I first was asked to do a TED Talk, I had first said no. As you have heard before, and I tell you again, I'm fortunately very, very busy. And I thought I just can't fit that in. Guess what? I did fit it in, and guess what? I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. Thank you so very much.